Welcome back to Soulful and Sober. I'm super excited to have my guest on today. She is a published author and it sounds like a bestseller. So I'm really happy to talk
Yay.
about her story. And she has a course out and she does a lot with divorce. And so my guest today is Hope. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Chrissy. I'm so excited to be here on your podcast. I think that what you're doing is so inspiring to so many people and so many women out there who are loving following your journey and the resources you're providing for them. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. And as a soon-to-be published author with a nonfiction book. I'm super excited for you. But before we get kind of into your journey, because I don't know if the people have heard me say this before, but I always talk about how some of the hardest times give us our transformation. Some of the biggest hurdles give us more
Absolutely.
purpose. And so I kind of want to just give a little background on how all of this led up to a book.
Yeah, I would love to share that. So, I was married for 16 years and I had a very toxic, difficult marriage where, we were raising two kids constantly at each other's throats. I felt like we were fighting. I was exhausted. We had very little love between us for a long time. And, I was always the kind of person where I really did feel like I had to stay for the kids. And I always told myself I was obligated to him. And even the day that he left me that morning, I had made him breakfast in bed and tried to improve our situation. And he said, "Well, I have a girlfriend. I've had her for 2 years and I'm leaving."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, I had to process a lot because not only did he leave me, he abandoned our two kids. They were 12 and 14 at the time. And, anyone who's had a teenage daughter knows how difficult that is. And that was exaggerated by the fact that both my older kids are on the spectrum. And my daughter at the time was going through a lot of difficult things, and it was very hard for her. And it was also COVID. He left us in March 2020. So it was all the lockdowns and the schools were shutting down, and my daughter was in and out of the hospital. It was an incredibly difficult time. But I really decided to be intentional about the fact that I wanted to have a better life in future because I really recognized that I spent so many years living a life that didn't make me happy, that I said, I'm not going to fester on this. I'm not going to let myself spend years in anger and resentment. I'm going to choose to look and seek out a life that I want. And a big part of that for me was dating. I wanted to have a partner in my life and I wanted to have more kids. And I always wanted, that happy family. That was a huge part of the life that I wanted to build for myself. So I wanted to find someone who was wholesome and kind and genuine and fun, as well as being like hot and sexy and great to be around. So I decided to look and I was very intentional in dating. I found my very incredibly handsome dream man, who is also a successful lawyer. And we've had three babies all after I turned 40. So that inspired me to write my book, which is called Dating After Divorce. And the intention is helping women who have been through heartbreak come out of the resentment and the anger into healing and looking for a better future and bringing that better future into dating and finding a partner that they can be truly happy with.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. And I like that you talk about intention, and we're definitely going to get to your book too. But with your intention, because I like that word and I like that in like day-to-day basis, right? What's my intention today? How has that helped you kind of navigate some of this? Because obviously, going through a divorce, having children is very difficult, especially when like almost like you had the rug pulled out even though you knew the relationship wasn't doing well, you obviously didn't expect your ex to state that, I'm sure.
I didn't, to a degree, but like just to give you like a little bit of a background, my ex was an ex like a bad alcoholic.
Okay.
And we had so many toxic experiences. One experience that I'll share with you is in 2016, I was very excited about putting on a concert on a property that we lived on. I spent months planning this. It was called the Valhalla Metal Invasion. I'm a big metalhead. So I had six bands playing. It was something that I worked so hard on. We had our kids there. And, the one thing I needed from him that day was to not drink and to be there to, protect our space and our home from having a lot of people and strangers there and our kids. But what he did instead was get drunker than I've ever seen him and bring out a gun to start playing with and showing off. And he was loading bullets in it in front of our children, completely drunk. And I tell that story because it was kind of a pivotal moment for me. It was kind of the wake up moment. It was in 2016. He didn't leave me until 2020, and I was still stuck in that feeling like I needed to stay, but I stopped loving him. So by the time he left, I hadn't loved him in 4 years, and I had been working on myself. I actually lost 175 pounds.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I had gone from in that time. Like I said, that was kind of a moment for me where I was like, I'm done trying to love him. I'm going to love myself. Now, granted, I've gained back close to 100 at having three babies after 40, and I'm working on that now. But that's what I did in that time. In that 4 years, I lost all that weight. I started going to therapy and working on myself. So I had a buffer. It wasn't just some shock out of nowhere. It was something that I knew was coming and I felt prepared for, and I didn't have any love for him anyway.
Yeah, so and congrats on taking care of yourself and no shave, three babies after 40, man. Women, it's hard to be a woman. So,
Yeah, oh man, you have no idea. Especially because I've always been overweight, always, always. I was most of my 30s over 300 pounds until I lost all the weight. And then, so it like for me having all those babies and gaining weight was just super hard to avoid. I don't have any regrets though, because, I have three babies.
absolutely. And it sounds like you're in a very happy, healthy relationship.
Yes.
And it sounds like your intention really, once you had that pivotal moment was kind of like one, like you said, it was like this awakening, but your intention to start loving yourself. And I love that.
It's so necessary because especially when you're a person who's been through heartbreak, you're someone who's been betrayed and had someone that you love and trust, take that all away from you. Take all of your expectations away, your feelings of safety and security. The only person who can give that back to you then is yourself. And it only comes with pretty hard work of choosing yourself and loving yourself and deciding that you're going to make those better choices for yourself, like you did with not drinking and with sharing your story. And I see so many other people doing it, but as you probably know, with people that maybe you've worked with, when you stay in that self-pity and that anger, you are giving, your future to your past. Because you had a difficult past, you're allowing yourself to have a difficult future by only focusing on the past. But truly loving yourself and deciding that you're willing to go fully into a future without bringing that trauma with you, it does take a lot of work. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, and it is a lot of work. And resonate with a lot of your story too, and like loving yourself and also not like chasing other dopamine hits, right? And I think whether that's alcohol, some of us it's
Hmm.
food, spending, because it's like we aren't looking inside of us. We're looking externally for all the
And
happiness.
it's easier. Yeah, it's just so
Yeah.
much easier to, fill up your Amazon cart or have a glass of wine or, maybe a bottle of, something else. Yeah, it's takes work to make the harder decision. But once you do, it becomes the easier decision, you know? And I have so much respect for people who will sit with that difficulty for a while until they realize, like I'm sure you know now, there's so many bigger highs that are so much better. Hiking a trail, climbing a mountain, going to karaoke, just doing things that are fun and being present instead of feeling intoxicated.
100%, 100%. And I think what I've noticed too is that it's like we talked about, it seems easier in the moment to grab a glass of wine or do some other dopamine like quick fix that just floods your brain. But ultimately,
Yeah.
eh, whether, it's it's destruction of a marriage, destruction of something else, or just you're feeling really, really stuck, it doesn't solve
Hmm.
the problem, right? It's really easy, and I can resonate with this, is just ignoring everything, like just
Oh
not
yeah. Head in
dealing
the
with it.
sand.
Yeah. Even when I was sober, I was like, let's just not deal with this stuff. Like, and it just seemed easier, but like the nagging feeling doesn't go away. And it's fleeting to search for high levels of dopamine because it doesn't actually give you what you want.
Hmm. Well, I think everyone can relate to something like, having to do taxes. It just sounds so daunting.
Yes.
When no
Yeah.
one wants to do their taxes, it sounds miserable and terrible. But then when you sit down and do it, it takes 2 hours. Half the time you even get a refund. And, it's not really so bad. And many of those things, I've worked with clients who have procrastinated even the little things that take 10 minutes. So a solution that I have for this is just to have a notebook that you keep and write down everything that you need to do, everything that you think of, every time you think of it that you need to do. If it's, wipe down the top of your refrigerator or change toilet paper pads, just write it down. And then, every day, just take a look at this list and say, what are a couple things that I'm going to just, take off this list today? And once you get it done, there's that dopamine hit too of being able to
Hmm.
cross something off your list. And I think that's really good and worth it. And then in a year, you're going to realize, wow, I have actually gotten a lot done.
Oh, I love that idea. That makes sense too. Because, yeah, there is a power in actually not just thinking about the things, but putting it on paper. And then, like you said, it's like doing them. And
Yeah.
that's like lasting, right? Because then you feel really good and then you actually get something done and you feel proud of yourself. And I think that's a huge thing because the problem with like when we set out to do certain goals, whether they're goals that are way too high for us at that point, or they're goals that we just don't do, we don't do them. I mean, we have that fracture in our relationship with ourselves. Like, oh, we just can't do the things. And then again, we're kind of in this like negative loop. So I love that idea of just kind of like a list stack.
So one of the things that when I work with divorced women, one of the hardest things for them is being able to trust themselves because they feel like I picked this guy and he hurt me worse than anyone ever has before. So if you're having a hard time trusting yourself, doing those little things, checking off those things on your to-do list is going to rebuild that trust in yourself. And when you set a goal, actually working towards that goal and achieving it, every time you keep doing that, you're building that increased trust in yourself. And then you're going to be able to know when I meet someone who is a good, kind, person that will treat me with love and respect. I trust myself to recognize that and to want to pursue that person.
Oh, I love that. What a good idea. And I love that mindset, that mindset shift as well. Because yeah, I think when you have something traumatic happen, it is easy for you to kind of have those thoughts about, even what's wrong with me, right? I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, even like, we were talking about weight loss. I lost all that weight. And it would be easy for me to say I can't trust myself to lose weight again because I've probably lost 100 pounds, if I'm going to be honest, 5 different times in my life. You know? So how can I trust myself to go forward? The thing is that you only have yourself, no matter how many times that you failed. And if you're sitting even in that failure, you have to remember that the resources are out there for you to improve. You're capable, you have this moment, and this moment forward is really the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that you can have control of. It's the only thing that you can change, and you have to choose exactly what you want for yourself.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. And I think too, it's like proof that if you've lost it before, or you've done something before, you can. And also if somebody else has done it, because a lot of times we like look at other people and we're like comparing ourselves versus thinking, well, isn't that like proof if they did it, like we can do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I wrote my book so I could be proof that even if you are after 35 or after 40 and you've been through divorce and you've been through heartbreak, you can still find real love again.
Yeah, and I love that as someone that is, you know, newly divorced and, obviously I don't know what my road ahead of me has for me, but I
Well,
think
you're very beautiful. I'm sure you'll meet
oh,
lots of potential suitors.
well, thank you. And it's not just about meeting somebody too. And I think we talked about this with, with your husband. You've met someone that you went with that. And again, that intention, like, this is what I want. Because it's to me at this stage of my game, like, I don't drink. I have a son,
Yeah.
and my son's very much a priority as he should be. But if I do meet somebody, like I feel like my standards are high, but I also know what I want. So I think that is something that's kind of exciting about being older is you just
Oh,
are so
yeah.
much wiser.
Yeah, and you can tell someone exactly what you want. I told my husband on our first date that I wanted another baby, you know? And that could scare people off, but it didn't matter to me because that is what I wanted. And if
Hmm.
someone was scared off by that, then they weren't the right fit for me.
I 100% agree. I think that like we can't, I think we can't be like tiptoeing because we want somebody. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
And we'll talk a little bit here about your book specifically, but I kind of wanted your opinion on this. Because I don't know, but like to me, this is kind of my perception is that sometimes some women might be like, oh my gosh, I need to be with somebody, which everybody should want to not want to be with. Everyone could be with someone, right? Like I think it's a very fine thought, but my thoughts on where this is going is that sometimes we want to be with somebody so bad we ignore like what you were
sure
saying, this
do.
is what I want. And so I think, moving forward for women that are single is to honor that just because they're 40s or whatever their age is doesn't mean that they have to be, you know, like slim pickings and just take what you can
Oh,
get.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're so right. I had a client recently who told me she was dating a guy, and she said, "Is it okay that he's always asking me for money?" And I was like, "God, hell no, it's not okay."
I was like, oh
What?
no, red flag, red flag.
Absolutely not. It's not okay. And I think that just that part of her, she wanted to believe that she was helping and she was being nice and she really liked him and cared about him. And these are the things and I have said this so many times to women is the red flags. Really, honestly, you probably already know what they all are. But he's handsome, he's good in bed, he's got a big dick. So, You are interested in
Uh,
keeping this relationship going, but not for the betterment of yourself. I mean, ultimately, you can have, a hot guy who is good in bed and who is going to make you happy, but is also all the other things that you need. So the more time you waste with the little, the losers, the longer that it's keeping you from finding someone who is a really good, genuine match for you. I mean, I can't tell you how many women are spending time and invested emotionally in these guys who are really just using them. And they know that they're being used. They feel that they're
mhm.
being used, but part of them feels like they deserve it or that's the best that they can get. But that's closing the door for a man who's going to come into their lives and treat them well.
Yes.
So, really, this first step is the red flags. Be honest with yourself, completely honest with yourself. Don't waste time with these guys.
No, I think that's such a good tip. And also, something that kind of stood out to me is I think this is why, your book, your work is so needed because so many women like don't value themselves. And if you don't think you're worthy of the best and you don't value yourself, sometimes we bring in those people that are going to mirror that, I think, too, because we do
Absolutely.
lower that standard. And it makes me sad because I think so many women are so amazing and they give, 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 and they deserve that back.
You're right. My dating course is called Magnetic Confidence. And that is because confidence truly is magnetic. When you put yourself out there, remembering that you are the prize and you hold yourself on the same, pedestal that you want the man of your dreams to put you on, then that's what you will attract. Whereas if you are not being confident, you're, finding a guy, you're immediately going onto his Instagram and stalking his posts from 5 years ago and asking him about, three ex-girlfriends ago.
Oh, geez.
Oh gosh, I've had
Oh,
women. You have no
no.
idea. You have
Oh.
no idea. Um, but again, you're just wasting your time there because when you're coming at it with resentment and over expectations, that quality guy is not going to want to stay. Another quick tip I'm just going to throw out there for divorced women is divorced women also have a tendency to play it a little bit too cool.
Mm.
Whereas, a man, a grown man who's already had his own life and experiences is not going to, if he is interested in a relationship and a marriage and a future, going to spend a lot of time with a woman who is unclear about her wants. You might think, okay, I really enjoyed that date. I shouldn't call him for 3 days, or I should play it cool, or I don't want to tell him how much I like him. But the truth is, a relationship-minded man is going to love that. So let all the compliments go. Tell him that you like him. Tell him that you enjoyed spending time with him and that you are really interested in him because that's what a mature, emotionally available man is going to want.
Yeah, no, and that makes a lot of sense too, that like, you know, the game playing and I'm worried
Yeah.
about X, Y, and Z. You're so right though, because I think healing and working on ourselves isn't like hiding things. And also too, it's if you're excited, I mean, obviously we don't have like anxious attachment and be like a psychopath, but if you're excited about somebody, that's a good sign. Because and I'm curious what you think about this. So lately, I've been trying to see how I feel about things like in my body. So like I'll give you an example. So sometimes like if I get invited to something or I hang out with a person and I'm like, not a hell yes. I'm like, okay, there might be something there. And it's just kind of like to pay attention to it because oftentimes, like you mentioned, you'll have those like red flags and not everybody is a red flag. Maybe it's just like a yellow, a yellow flag. Um, but like curious what your thoughts are on that is that sometimes we have those feelings of like, this isn't like super, this doesn't feel good in my body. And I think that's how I try to judge things. If I do something, am I feeling like good about it, or does it make me kind of feel constricted? And I think we ignore the constricted signs because, again, like you mentioned, we want this to work out, or we want to be
Hmm.
loved, or we want to we want to feel a certain way. And we sometimes, like, again, ignore our gut that says, this isn't for us.
Absolutely. I think that's such a good point, and so many women completely lose touch with that. After a long marriage where you have been through so much, you probably don't even remember what your gut instinct feels like. So really tapping into it and trying to feel it in those moments where it does come up, really recognizing what it feels like. Is it tightness in your jaw? Is it tightness in your back? Is it a headache? What is it that's making you feel this is not right for you? So, because so many women have lost touch with that gut instinct, I think that you're exactly right, but we have to slowly get back in touch with it. And we might have to rely a little bit on on our practical mind, as we build back up that feeling of understanding or intuition. Another quick note I just wanted to say about what you said is yellow flags, red flags. Remember that red flags are signs. They're not immediate block. No, absolutely not always. They might just be something, an indicator that you need to look at this and you need to decide if this is something that you can live with. Because every single adult, most of the people that you're going to be meeting and dating when you're in your 40s and divorced are also in their 40s and divorced. They're going to have what some people are going to say are red flags. We've all been through a lot. Everyone has their own baggage, so you just have to look at it as this is something that I can live with, that I can be comfortable with, that I can accept and love this person despite that. Now, if it's gaslighting or being manipulative, that's a hard no. That should be even, we should have a stronger word. Those are immediate blocks.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I also
Yeah.
think that, like, when the other thing I just thought about too, when you said like they sometimes, like, hold back saying what they want to say, is I think it's really important to speak your truth and speak your
Hmm.
mind, because if you tell somebody how you feel, or, and this is from my personal experience, and if you tell somebody how you think about something, or if you don't like something, why can't you say that up front? Because then you're going to get their response and say, do I like that response? Is it an emotionally mature response, or is it a really jerk response? And again, you can still date somebody, but I think
Yeah.
that, to me, that's important to see how people respond if you don't agree with something. Because in a relationship, even if you're dating somebody, I think that it's always good to be able to see somebody else's perspective, even if, again, if it's not manipulative or something really red flaggy, and
Yeah.
run away from. But, like, it's good to understand people's perspectives, because I think it's important to kind of be able to talk through things. And I also say one more thing before I hand it away to you, but I also think that, and I'm curious what you think about this, is that texting, like, so when I was dating, like, before I got married, like, we didn't text like this. We didn't text all the time. It wasn't as a big of a thing. And I think the only thing that I perhaps could see it being an issue is that, like, people don't ever call and talk. They just text a bunch. And it's really hard to get to know somebody through text messaging. I'm just sorry. It's hard. You're gonna miss, like,
Oh yeah.
cues, their facial expressions. And so, sorry, that's, like, maybe that's a couple questions, but those are just my thoughts. And I'm curious what you think on that, since you talk to a lot of women.
It's such a common thing nowadays, and I can't tell you how frequent it is for women and men. They get into these relationships, right? These relationships with someone who lives a few hours away, so they spend months texting. And then they meet in person and the spark is just not there. I absolutely think that meeting right away is necessary, in a public place. Um, we're not pen pals. We're not looking for pen pals. We're looking to see
Right.
if the chemistry is real and there. You know, my program is looking for a soulmate connection, not a good friend or your next bang, but a soulmate connection. And you're not going to find that through endless texting with someone you don't know. So really a couple weeks, 3 weeks max, you want to be meeting that person. And not doing this forever texting. It's just wasting your time and theirs. It's not putting yourself out there for the connection. It's the easy way to say that you're dating, but not really be dating.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And I agree with you. It's like life. Okay, so this is my thoughts. Life is short, but life is also long, right? It passes us by, but also it can feel really miserable if we're not happy. So it's like I have to sometimes think, and some of the people I talk to is, obviously it's more in the drinking space, but if this isn't adding to your life, sometimes it's like reevaluating things and going, does this make sense? And I agree with you also say about the texting and making it safe. Like it's scary to get back out there, right? It's kind of a little bit terrifying sometimes, and it's uncharted water. And I can, say that after a 10-year marriage, that the thought of dating is scary. It's
Yeah.
scary to some degree.
I can imagine, I completely understand. I think it is for a lot of people, and that's why they want to protect their hearts. And that's okay. You don't have to be 100% ready to date. You don't have to be, or let me say this, you don't have to be 100% healed to date. You just have to be self-aware, but you do have to be ready. You have to want to date. You have to want to spend time with someone new and get to know them and be open to laughing at their jokes. And if you're not there yet, then it just isn't time yet. And that takes different amounts of times for different people. There's no blueprint that's correct for anyone as far as when to start dating again. It's really just when you can see yourself looking forward to a date and wanting to spend some time with someone and doing something fun. And if you can't see yourself doing anything but texting to distract from all of your feelings and stress and obligations, you're not ready to be dating.
Yeah, no, I think that's some good practical tips and tools too, because I think it's important to discern, are you ready to date or are you wanting to date, and I don't know if there's like a wrong or right, to be honest with you, but like, are you dating because you need that, like that again, that dopamine, or are you ready? And I think it's okay to not be dating somebody. I think there's so much pressure. I'm curious what you
Of
think on this
course.
too. There's a lot of pressure, like, I've had a few people tell me this, like about like I think people think if people look a certain way, they should not be single. And it's like kind of annoying because it's like, but everybody doesn't know somebody's story, right? Like just because someone might look a certain way, like I don't feel like that's like a fair ground to tell someone, well, you should be dating and you should be married and you shouldn't be single. And I'm like, what? I'm like,
No, most
thanks.
of the women that I work with are drop dead gorgeous. Drop dead gorgeous, make me wonder if I should change teams. Beautiful, uh, because it isn't about looks. It's about openness. I think for them, a lot of times is they have such for beautiful women such as yourself, and I'm not saying this is you, but just beautiful women who often have these expectations, these really, really high expectations, and can easily become angry or upset when those aren't met. And even if it's a good guy and it's a nice guy and he's making an effort, you not you, many women who I know that are despite being very attractive, close themselves off to that because they feel not ready for something, or they feel insecure despite being beautiful. It really has nothing to do with looks. And on another note, I absolutely hate people using looks as a reason for any of that kind of stuff because
Hmm.
I can't tell you the amount of therapists doctors and people in my life that would tell me that I was lucky to be with my ex because he was handsome.
Oh
I
my
had a
gosh.
therapist after I cried in her office for an hour and I told her how much he was hurting me. And then I showed, and she was like, leave him, leave him, leave him for an hour. And then I showed her a picture of him and she said, what? I take back everything I said.
That's a bad therapist.
It was a bad therapist. It was a bad therapist. For the record, my husband now is 10 times hotter.
Damn
But
straight.
yeah. But that that is the kind of attitude that I would get. So I think that people need to just look at people for who they are and not how they look. Absolutely.
No, I agree. Well, I'm super excited about your book, by the way. I think it's a lot of
Thank you
work
so
to
much.
write a
It
book.
was so much work. And because you've got one coming out in the end of next
Yes.
month.
Yes.
So what is the title of your book?
Mine is Soul-Led Sobriety, and then it
I
has a
love it.
subtitle as well, but it's break free from alcohol to live a more fulfilling, spiritual, and joy-filled life.
Love it.
Um, yes, and I love your book too, and I'm super excited. So it hit like number one, and
So it hit number one top new release in dating. And it was on the bestseller list for the dating category and the divorce category, which, yes, I feel very thankful and excited for that. I really poured my heart and soul into that book because I told my personal story of going through divorce and, all the difficulties and all the uncertainties and picking myself back up again. And I share every tip I've got, I do have a course that's more, detailed and it has more prompts for you to work on yourself. But as far as this book, it's got my entire heart and soul in it. So I feel really thankful that people have enjoyed it so far.
that's amazing. And where we will link the course, the book below. So if you feel called to support Hope, and also if you need that extra support
Thanks.
yourself, or even if you're questioning things in a relationship, I think it's important to educate yourself because I even remember, I think books are so powerful. I remember before my, ex and I split, like I had the same thoughts as you, was like about the kids. And I was listening to something, I listen to a lot of books, but about the statistics that actually, again, if you guys aren't like vicious people like with your children, but like statistically your children will be fine. And that was really like reassuring. So I think sometimes with books like yours, Hopes, and just like the different thoughts and experiences can really help people make a decision or decide on a path that seems really scary.
Yeah, I think so. I really, really hope that my book will encourage women to heal and to choose joy and realize that they can have a future better than they think that they deserve right now.
No, I love that. And before we wrap up, what is like just one more thought or tip or something that you want to share that you think would be really helpful? Not to put you on the spot, but
I
you have so
No,
many
it's
good
okay. I think one
ideas.
of
You have
my
so many
most
good
commonly
ideas.
asked questions is about dating apps. People ask me all the time, what's the best dating app if you're dating after divorce? And here's the thing, most guys are on all the apps, so it's really not about the app itself, it's about your profile. So if you're making a profile, make sure that you have a variety of authentic pictures where you're doing things, where you're genuinely smiling, not a forced smile in the bathroom mirror. And and have things that will be good conversation starters in your bio, not just I like to hike, but catch me looking for sunrises on the local trails or something like that. Just go into a little bit more depth so that they can have something to ask you questions about, and that you're going to attract people who are interested in the same things as you. Like if you love sports, have pictures of you playing sports.
No, I
So
love that. So
hopefully
what a
that
great
helps.
tip. Yeah, no, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I thank you so much for being here, Hope, and sharing some of your journey. And congratulations again on your book and your course and just blessing
Thank you
this
so
world
much.
with everything that you've been through.
And thanks, same to you, Chrissy. I really appreciate it.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.